people or like non-physical
No,
people?
non-physical.
Huh.
That sometimes get physical. It's really, really crazy. So the
I've
first
heard
guy
that before.
You can think that anyways. The first one is called White Feather. Was his first spirit guide. It was a Native American doorkeeper who always started the seances. It took years, but eventually he learned to speak. Not just through the medium. So when a medium encounters these spirits, the body kind of goes dead, and then you hear different people speak through them, which you could fake. I mean,
it's like channeling.
I could practice that in a weekend and probably trick people in a room just by talking and being a different personality.
Right.
That'd be awesome, like in a board meeting.
Yeah, it would freak people out. But the reason why this is crazy is, and I'll get to everything I'm setting up that I'll start to tell later. But there's these things called trumpets in the seance room, where trumpet is like a light material formed like a funnel, like a megaphone.
Oh, yeah.
And they wrap it with like something you can see, like a luminescent tape.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually White Feather learned to speak through this trumpet, and the trumpets move. And I'll get to this in a second. They move around the room and fly around and touch people, and you hear voices through it, like disembodied voices.
What?
So, okay. The other part of the team was Christopher, a young boy whose job was to make people laugh. So a spirit that would kind of lighten the room before they get serious. And the whole point of mediumship is to contact the dead. That's what it's about. It's about information from the other side. This guy, Stuart, those stories are endless. You can read all the stories about this guy, about knowing things and these entities knowing things about other people's deceased ones, and people with medical problems that would go into this and come out and be healed. That's all real. Those stories by themselves are crazy, but what I'm going to talk about today is materializations in the room. It's so awesome.
Wow.
So we have two team members, White Feather and Christopher. The third one is Walter. Walter Stinson was a Canadian. I don't know why I said it like that. Canadians are great. Who had died in a train accident. He was in charge of helping Stuart develop his physical abilities. So he was really paramount in training Stuart. He was actually the brother of a famous medium who I forget. And I just love the side note that Walter loved the ladies. He was a ladies' man.
Wait. So Walter is
Walter the spirit. Yeah, it was like he flirted with the ladies in these rooms.
Okay, well, that's kind of scary because you can't see him, so you don't know whose hands are on you.
No, he's a little handsy. No, I don't know if he's a little. Yeah, I don't know if he's handsy. I think he's appropriate.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah,
he's just a chama.
Yeah. By the way, these rooms. It sounds like I'm setting
Somebody's
up something dark.
whispering in my ear, and I don't like
What
it.
is happening?
No, it's just Walter.
Just Walter. He's getting handsy again. But these things aren't scary, by the way. It's kind of seems weird right now. I feel like you'd be scared in this kind of situation, but people aren't. These are wonderful ceremonies where people come out with real information and are transformed. It's not a scary situation. Like the movies make everything fucking scary, you know? It's like a Matt O'Connor story.
Birdhouse, but like with ghosts.
So Dr. Barnett was the last one. He's important because he ended up getting the ability to fully speak independently of Stuart, not through Stuart's mouth, not through a trumpet, just in the room, fully materialized. And we'll get to that in a second.
Huh.
Okay.
This is a doctor.
It's a doctor. So the seance room. What's a seance room? It's dark. It has to be dark because ectoplasm, which I'll explain in a second, is very sensitive light. There's a red light under a table which you turn on for certain parts. Boarded windows. There's a bell. And there's luminous tabs on the knees and the trumpets, the knees of Stuart. He's tied to a chair, and he has wristbands or braces over his arms, and he can't move. And you can see his knees because there's always like a little bit of translucent light.
So he can't fake it, basically.
He can't fake it.
Right.
Okay. So this, by the way, has been faked a lot, and there's a lot of charlatans out there. But they're all chasing the same things, the people who really can do it. And I'm convinced now, after this investigation. It's incredible. Okay. Ectoplasm. Ectoplasm is energy, basically, that the medium projects, that the spirits use to communicate and materialize. That's the basic layman's definition of it. I'm going to read something in a little bit later that kind of talks about really what it is, but that's the basic definition of ectoplasm. You can't really see it, and it's sensitive to light. Light will kill it. So that's why the room has to be dark. Seems convenient, but that's what it is. Yes.
So does that mean, like, if we go back to the simulated universe explanation, so if he believes it exists, he creates this kind of energy in the quantum field, but then people that see it have to believe in it too, right?
I don't know.
For it to exist.
No, I think that's what it is. Like, it's independent of people's perception. It's really coming through. So it's not about perception. It's about it's more proof that there is something else above us that we can't see, and they can lower their vibration to come to us.
So he's literally creating matter out of the quantum field.
Yes.
That's
more
well,
like
he's
that,
not creating it. He's just...
Well, the ectoplasm is. So the trance state he goes into in his training allows something develop, where he projects an energy, basically. And these things use that to come into our world. They need it as a transition to come in. It's really hard for them to come in.
Portal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. Yes, I didn't think about that. It's a portal. Okay.
The
The first crazy thing that happened in the room is Stuart was tied to his chair and he couldn't move, and the plastic's pretty tight on him. They put on music. It takes about a minute for him to get in the trance state, and boom, it happens fast. He feels them coming. Then he's gone. He doesn't remember anything, by the way. He sometimes wakes up and sees things. He's only seen some of the things I'm about to describe very few times in his life. It's because he's out of it. He's not even there. They take over his body 80%, not 100, because apparently 100 will kill him. So they know how to do this. They come through him, which is crazy. So he trusts his spirit team, though. This is proof that you are a transceiver of consciousness in a way. That, like, other conscious come in you. So what are we? We're biological robots in a hologram living in a quantum field.
Right. Creating our own reality.
Creating our own reality.
And receiving information all the time. And then interpreting that the way we want to.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, I don't know that, but it sounds good to me. Okay.
That's my definition.
I love it. Walter, this is the first crazy thing. Walter asked Leslie to grab Stuart's hand. Walter is the voice you're hearing through Stuart at this point. She grabs Stuart's hand, and he goes, now I'm going to teach you something called living matter through matter. She grabs his hand under his instruction and pulls it up, and his hand goes right through the brace. Can't really see, right? It's a dark room. Could be tricked. They're like, wow, that's crazy. And she puts his arm back down. Before she puts the arm down, you hear the brace break and snap apart, and it flies away, and there's no more brace. They put the arm back down, and she lets go, and they hear noises, and the brace, another brace out of nowhere reforms around him.
Whoa.
The bracers are crazy. You probably could trick that shit in a room in the dark, right? So I'm not too convinced yet. The next step is the trumpets. Trumpets, as I explained earlier, like megaphones, light material wrapped with something luminescent so you could see them. The trumpets suddenly start rising off the ground. And they start moving out of the room, and you can see them. And not just moving around the room, you can hear disembodied voices coming through it. Sometimes not that clear, but people saying things. And the trumpets will go around and gently touch people. But never in a bad way. Like, they touch their head, and if you have glasses on, they'd, like, never touch your glasses. They touch your nose, floating in the air, your forehead. So it was very precise. These things were very under control through ectoplasm.
That's so weird.
Yeah, so ectoplasm's coming from Stuart. You can't see it. And these trumpets are floating in the ectoplasm around the room, and you're hearing it. So you're hearing voices from the other side.
So they can physically see the ectoplasm as well? Or is it...
Sometimes. There's pictures that are faked. You can in the low lighting sometimes.
I've seen those photos.
And coming up, you can. The red light, once it's turned on, you can see like a foggy kind of thing going on.
Okay.
Then, bang, a bell goes off. Now, Dr. Burnett, who's one of the 4 spirit guides, starts speaking independently of Stuart at all. So not through a trumpet, not through Stuart's voice. You're just hearing a voice around the room. Just hearing him talk in different places, like close to you, away from you.
Whoa.
Which is getting crazier and crazier. What Dr. Barnett explains is we are able to vibrate your atmosphere and convert our thoughts into audible sounds. And he's doing that through the ectoplasm. Now, coming up after this break, I'm going to tell a story that I didn't think was possible and didn't think was real. But after reading what she explained, and I really trust this author and since her work, that I'm convinced that it really happened. And it involves shaking the physical hand of someone who died years ago.
Wow.
We'll get to it right when we come back. Bang. All right, we're back. Well,
Justin Timberlake just came into the studio, everybody.
I'm so upset. Man.
Omelet Man.
We're in the middle of like a medium story, and I'm like, yeah. Okay, we're back.
All right.
Walter, the ladies' man spirit.
Yep.
Right.
Speaking through Stuart, wanted to demonstrate materialization of his own hand through ectoplasm.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
He did. He was like, he's
handsy.
So they switched the red light underneath the table.
Ladies, I have big hands.
What is this guy?
Yeah.
So the red light goes on under the table.
Where is this going?
And she starts to see a grayish, blackish cloud form that comes from Stuart. So she's seeing the ectoplasm that we've been talking about. It forms slowly, and then there's a bang on the table. Remember, Stuart is strapped in here, and there's enough light to see that no one's moving at this point. So this is a cloud that somehow is forming. I don't know if they're using projection technology, but I think it's real. Walter asks the room, or actually asks Leslie directly, would you like to feel the hand of a man dead to your world for over 100 years?
Oh, of course it's Leslie.
Right. Leslie obviously said yes. And now I'm going to read a quick passage from the book that really helps explain this in detail. This is what Walter explains is happening. When the energy ectoplasm has been converted into a form visible to you, when it becomes palpable, when I know that it is of a molecular state which will allow me to work further upon it, I then dip my etheric hand into the energy, etheric hand into the energy, into the ectoplasm.
Etheric?
Etheric.
Etheric.
Yeah, etheric. No, you're right. It's a hard word.
We got it, guys. There's 3 of us. We can work this out.
We can do this.
Yeah, so wait. I then dip my etheric hand into the energy, into the ectoplasm, which I find clings to my etheric hand. This organized mass form, which I create my etheric hand, has consistency and it has weight. It is the weight that creates the problem. It is difficult for us to manipulate physical weight, physical mass, because I come from a world, as you know, which exists on a finer vibrational level than your own. So I have to slow down my vibrations. Okay.
Interesting.
So when did this happen again?
2015.
Did they get any sort of video or?
I can follow up about that. There's actually a lot of thought that goes into that, and she did ask.
But Leslie was there because the guy shook her hand.
So the hand comes through.
Okay.
And
it comes through the ectoplasm.
It comes through the ectoplasm.
Which is green, because I'm just imagining Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. It's grayish-black. It's not like that.
Like Slimer.
A physical hand comes in. She reaches down and grabs it and shakes it, and it feels like a real hand. It's not Stuart's hand, because it's clearly different. It's a clearly different hand. It's a little bigger and different consistency.
Of course it's a big hand.
Big Dick Walter, that Canadian ladies' man. So she shook this guy's hand and was blown away. She actually did it twice in 2 different sessions.
Wow.
And it radically shocked her, like that could even be possible, and there's no way that was faked.
Did she describe the feel? Was it like warm or cold or anything
warm?
Like
felt
that?
like a live human hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's really how they exist, or maybe he was able to manipulate reality to do something.
I have so many questions. I agree with Matt. Like, is there a video of that? Because I have questions like, how far is the ectoplasm cloud from
Well, here, let me explain
Stuart?
exactly what she said. It takes 2 seconds. Little by little, it seems to split into digits at its end. It is like the embryo of a hand, ill-formed but clear enough to enable me to say that it is a left hand seen from the back. Fresh progress. The little finger separates almost completely. Then the following changes, very quick but very clear. A hand with closed fingers seen from the back, with a little finger extended, an ill-formed thumb, and higher up a swelling that resembles the carpal bones. I think I can see the creases in the skin. So she described it pretty clear. They won't allow photographs in the room. She asked. He didn't want to. In the past, these mediums have been studied and photographed, real studies, and it happens over and over and over and over again. And sometimes it's hard to repeat this in a clinical setting.
Right.
There are real photographs. The ectoplasm is light sensitive, which is another issue.
Right.
Seems convenient. But I don't know. Like, the way this is set up, there's no way this is fake. And this guy seems legit.
I mean, you could get, like, night vision, you know.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? This gets even crazier.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Okay.
We might not have enough photographic evidence to really convince people, but I think the story speaks for itself. The next one is a full materialization story. Dr. Barnett walks around the room. So during the fourth seance she did 4 seances, Stuart started floating in the air, which is common, I guess, in physical mediumship. They held hands. They started to sing a song. They started to feel hands or helpers and Dr. Barnett's voice. Apparently he had 4 children helpers that came and started touching everyone in the room. He walked around and touched people. As he walked around, the light on their knees and the table would go in and out. So like a silhouette would walk by. And everyone's sitting down, and he's strapped to the table. And the room's small. It's not like and they would know if someone just walked in the room. It's all locked up, you know. Doctor touched Leslie and tapped her many times and spoke to her right in front of her, like the voice, like right in front of her. Stuart later explained that spirit people exist in the etheric body at a higher vibration, which we know. And they move too fast, so they have to slow down to be here. It takes a lot of effort through ectoplasm. So, that is a story that happened to her, which is incredible. And I just want to share,
the author,
before we get into a couple of explanations of what could happen, one being faked, which is a possibility, but I don't think it is. I just want to say what she said in the end, because it really stuck with me. It made me, I just agree with her. So she writes, just last night I was downtown in New York City when I received a text message from one of Stuart's circle members. Dr. Barnett walked among us last night and he did some healing. The circle members aren't the spirit guides. That's people who sit with them, you know? Mm-hmm. This popped in as I stood waiting for the subway on a crowded platform. Suddenly the implications of the casual text hit me in a new way. How simply extraordinary. In a small room in England, a man materialized, walked out through a curtain, talked and touched people, and then vanished from where he had come. This man says he once lived on Earth. To Stuart's circle members, this is such a normal occurrence that it can be texted to me in 2 lines. And we all just go about our regular lives. Should the rest of the world know that this is happening? I just thought that was well written.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. That is awesome. And then what's the name of that book?
The name of the book is Surviving Death. A journalist investigates evidence for an afterlife. Leslie Keene.
I could see how reading that book would make you less afraid of death.
Yeah.
We have a whole part of society based on like getting married.